had if some of the most powerful tools for improving your health were already sitting in your kitchen? Not in a supplement bottle, not in an expensive wellness program, and not in a breakthrough drug, but in everyday foods that scientists have been studying for years. What's particularly fascinating is that modern research suggests certain foods may do far more than simply provide calories and nutrients. Evidence indicates they can influence metabolism, support the body's natural defense systems, affect inflammation, shape the gut microbiome, and even interact with biological pathways connected to healthy aging. And perhaps most surprising of all, researchers have discovered that some foods may help create an internal environment that is less favorable for abnormal cell growth while simultaneously supporting healthy weight management. But here's where many people get confused. They focus on individual quote unquote superfoods, one magical berry, one special spice, one miracle ingredient. Yet scientists have learned that the real story is much more interesting because it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat it. And that's where food hacks come in. Today, we're exploring 6 science based food strategies inspired by research discussed by physician and researcher Dr. William Li and many other experts studying nutrition, metabolism, and longevity. These aren't miracle cures, they're not guarantees. They're practical, evidence informed approaches that may help support the body's natural systems over time. And the 6th food hack might completely change how you think about your daily meals. Let's begin. For decades, most nutrition advice focused on calories. Eat less, move more, lose weight. Simple. At least that's what people were told. But researchers eventually discovered that the human body is far more complex than a basic calorie calculator. 2 meals can contain identical calories and produce very different biological effects. One meal may leave you energized and satisfied. The other may leave you hungry just hours later. One may support healthy metabolic function. The other may encourage overeating. And this realization led scientists down an unexpected path. They began asking a different question. Instead of focusing only on how much people eat, what if the quality and timing of food mattered just as much? The answers revealed some remarkable insights. Food hack number 1. Feed your gut before you feed yourself. This sounds strange at first. After all, how can you feed something before feeding yourself? The answer lies inside your digestive system. Trillions of microorganisms live in the human gut. Collectively known as the microbiome, these tiny organisms influence digestion, metabolism, immune function, and even aspects of brain health. In fact, researchers increasingly view the gut microbiome as one of the most important players in long-term health. But here's the surprising part. Your gut microbes have favorite foods, and many of those foods are ones modern diets often lack. Fiber-rich vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole plant foods. When beneficial microbes consume fiber, they produce compounds known as short-chain fatty acids. Research suggests these compounds may support gut health, help regulate inflammation, and contribute to healthy metabolic processes. Yet many adults consume far less fiber than experts recommend, and this is where the first food hack becomes powerful. Instead of starting meals with highly processed foods, begin with fiber-rich foods whenever possible. A salad before the main course, vegetables before starches, beans added to meals, a handful of nuts alongside lunch. This simple shift may help nourish beneficial gut bacteria while also increasing satiety. But researchers later discovered something even more surprising. The gut doesn't simply respond to food, it communicates with the brain. Scientists call this the gut-brain axis. Signals travel continuously between the digestive system and the nervous system, which means the foods that support your microbiome may influence much more than digestion alone. And that's only the beginning, because the next food hack involves a process inside the body that most people have never heard of, yet it may play a significant role in healthy aging. Food hack number 2. Activate your body's natural defense systems. For many years, scientists believed antioxidants worked primarily by neutralizing harmful molecules called free radicals. That idea wasn't entirely wrong, but newer research revealed a much more fascinating story. Certain foods appear to challenge the body in small, beneficial ways. This concept is sometimes described as hormesis, a mild biological stress that encourages the body to become more resilient. Think of exercise. A workout temporarily stresses the body, yet over time, the body adapts and becomes stronger. Some plant compounds appear to work in a similar way. Cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and kale contain natural compounds that researchers have studied extensively. When consumed regularly, these compounds may activate protective pathways involved in cellular maintenance and detoxification processes. One particularly interesting compound is sulforaphane, found in broccoli and broccoli sprouts. Scientists have investigated how sulforaphane interacts with genes involved in the body's natural defense systems. While research continues, evidence suggests these mechanisms may support overall cellular health. And this is where the story becomes especially interesting. Many people focus on taking antioxidant supplements, yet some researchers believe whole foods may offer advantages because they contain thousands of naturally occurring compounds working together. Nature rarely delivers nutrients one at a time. Instead, foods arrive as complex biological packages, and scientists are still uncovering how those packages interact with the body. But if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear what researchers discovered about the timing of food, because timing may influence metabolism in ways most people never imagine. Food hack number 3: create longer breaks between eating. For years, many people believed they needed to eat constantly: breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, evening snack. The assumption was simple: more frequent eating would somehow keep metabolism elevated. However, researchers began questioning whether continuous eating was actually ideal. The body spends much of its time processing food, digesting, absorbing, storing energy. But what happens when digestion finally gets a break? This question led scientists to study meal timing and periods without food. The results sparked enormous interest. Evidence suggests that extending the overnight fasting window may influence metabolic health. For example, finishing dinner earlier and delaying breakfast slightly the next morning naturally creates a longer period without eating. During these breaks, the body may shift some of its focus toward maintenance and repair processes. Researchers are actively studying how these patterns affect metabolic flexibility, insulin sensitivity, and healthy aging. Importantly, this doesn't mean extreme fasting, nor does it mean skipping meals indiscriminately. The goal is not deprivation. It's creating reasonable periods when the body is not constantly digesting food. And here's the unexpected finding. Some studies suggest meal timing may be nearly as important as meal quality for certain aspects of metabolic health. Which brings us to a food that has generated tremendous scientific interest in recent years, and its benefits may extend far beyond what most people realize. Food hack number 4: use foods that support healthy blood vessel growth. At first, this sounds unusual. Why would blood vessel growth matter? Because your circulatory system is one of the body's most important networks. Blood vessels deliver oxygen, transport nutrients, remove waste, support tissue function, and help maintain overall health. Researchers studying angiogenesis, the process of blood vessel formation, have discovered that certain foods may help support healthy vascular function. One food repeatedly attracting scientific attention is the tomato. Tomatoes contain lycopene, a naturally occurring plant compound associated with cardiovascular health. Research suggests diets rich in tomatoes may support healthy blood vessel function and overall wellness. But tomatoes aren't alone. Berries, green tea, citrus fruits, dark chocolate, and various herbs and spices have all been studied for their potential effects on vascular health. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Many of these same foods are also associated with healthy weight management. Why? Because health systems inside the body rarely operate independently. The pathways influencing metabolism often overlap with those involved in inflammation, circulation, and cellular function. Scientists increasingly recognize that the body operates as an interconnected network rather than isolated parts, which means improving one area may positively influence others. But researchers discovered an even more powerful connection, and it involves something millions of people consume every day without realizing its potential impact. Food hack number 5: drink tea strategically. Tea has been consumed for thousands of years, yet modern science continues uncovering new reasons why it remains one of the most studied beverages on Earth. Green tea, in particular, contains compounds known as catechins. Among them is EGCG, a plant compound extensively examined for its biological effects. Research suggests these compounds may support metabolic health, cardiovascular function, and cellular resilience. Some studies have also explored how green tea influences fat oxidation and energy expenditure. The effects are generally modest, not dramatic, not magical, but potentially meaningful when combined with healthy lifestyle habits. And that's an important lesson. Many people search for one transformational intervention, one supplement, one food, one shortcut. Yet evidence repeatedly points toward a different conclusion. Health outcomes are often shaped by the accumulation of small advantages over time: a better breakfast, more vegetables, regular movement, quality sleep, and strategic choices repeated consistently. That's where real change often happens. But the final food hack may be the most powerful of all, because it challenges one of the biggest misconceptions in modern nutrition. And understanding it could completely transform how you think about eating. Food hack number 6: stop thinking about individual foods and start thinking about food combinations. This may sound less exciting than a miracle ingredient, but it could be far more important. For years, nutrition headlines have focused on single foods: blueberries, turmeric, olive oil, green tea, broccoli. Each week, a different food seems to become the newest health superstar. Yet researchers studying long-lived populations around the world noticed something intriguing. The healthiest populations weren't necessarily eating large amounts of one specific food. Instead, they consistently followed dietary patterns built around combinations of nutrient-rich foods. In other words, foods appear to work together. And scientists have a name for this concept: food synergy. The idea is simple. The health effects of a meal may be greater than the sum of its individual ingredients. Consider a simple salad. Leafy greens provide fiber and micronutrients. Olive oil contributes beneficial fats. Tomatoes add lycopene. Nuts provide healthy fats and plant compounds. Beans contribute protein and additional fiber. Individually, each ingredient offers potential benefits. Together, they create a biological environment that may support multiple systems simultaneously. Researchers have observed that dietary patterns rich in vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, whole grains, herbs, spices, and healthy fats are consistently associated with positive health outcomes. And this is where many people make an important mistake. They try to add healthy foods without replacing unhealthy habits. A person might drink green tea while consuming mostly ultra-processed foods, or eat blueberries while remaining sedentary, or take supplements while neglecting sleep. But the most compelling evidence suggests health is often influenced by the overall pattern rather than isolated actions. And that realization changes everything. Because suddenly, health becomes less about perfection and more about consistency. Not one perfect meal, not one perfect day, but hundreds of small decisions repeated over months and years. Yet the story becomes even more fascinating when we look at what researchers have learned about body fat itself. For decades, body fat was viewed mainly as stored energy, a passive reserve, a biological savings account. But scientists eventually discovered something surprising. Body fat is biologically active. It communicates with the rest of the body. It releases signaling molecules. It interacts with hormones. It influences metabolism. and depending on its location and amount, it may affect health in important ways. This helps explain why nutrition strategies that support healthy weight management often have effects extending beyond appearance. The goal isn't simply becoming thinner. The goal is creating conditions that support long-term metabolic health. And this is where the 6 food hacks begin working together. Fiber-rich foods may help improve satiety. Balanced meal timing may support metabolic flexibility. Tea and plant compounds may contribute to cellular resilience. Vegetables may activate protective biological pathways. Food combinations may amplify positive effects. Together, these strategies create a foundation rather than a quick fix. And perhaps that's the most important lesson modern nutrition science has taught us. The body is remarkably adaptable. Every meal sends information. Every food choice communicates with biological systems. Every day represents another opportunity to influence long-term health. But researchers studying healthy aging discovered one more surprising pattern. People who maintain excellent health into later decades rarely rely on extreme approaches. They rarely chase nutritional fads. They rarely jump from one miracle solution to another. Instead, they consistently follow sustainable habits. Simple habits, repeated habits, boring habits sometimes, yet those habits often produce extraordinary results over time. Consider the populations living in regions known for exceptional longevity. Scientists have spent decades studying communities where people commonly reach their 90s and even 100 years of age while maintaining relatively high levels of function. Although these populations differ culturally and geographically, researchers noticed recurring themes. Meals centered around plants, regular physical activity, strong social connections, moderate eating patterns, daily routines that support long-term health. What's fascinating is that many of these behaviors naturally align with the food hacks we've discussed. Fiber-rich foods support the microbiome, plant compounds support cellular health, balanced eating patterns help regulate metabolism, nutrient-dense meals provide broad nutritional support. The principles appear repeatedly across different cultures, and that consistency has captured the attention of scientists worldwide. However, that's not the most interesting part. The most interesting part is that many benefits seem to accumulate gradually. Much like saving money, one small deposit may not appear significant, but repeated deposits over years can produce remarkable outcomes. Nutrition appears to work similarly. One healthy meal won't transform your health. One cup of green tea won't change your future. One serving of broccoli won't alter your biological age overnight. But thousands of positive choices accumulated over decades may create meaningful differences. Researchers increasingly refer to this concept as health span, not simply how long people live, but how well they live, how long they remain active, independent, mentally sharp, physically capable. And this shift in perspective is changing how experts think about nutrition. Instead of asking, how can I live longer? The better question may be, how can I improve the quality of the years ahead? Because longevity without vitality isn't the goal. The goal is maintaining function, energy, mobility, and resilience for as long as possible. And food plays an important role in that equation, not because food is medicine, not because food performs miracles, but because food provides the raw materials from which the body continuously rebuilds itself every day, every week, every year. Scientists estimate that countless cells throughout the body are constantly being repaired, replaced, and renewed. This ongoing maintenance requires nutrients, it requires energy, it requires biological signals, and many of those signals originate from the foods we consume. Which brings us back to Dr. William Li's broader message. The future of nutrition may not be about restriction. It may not be about counting every calorie, and it may not be about searching for the perfect diet. Instead, it may be about understanding how food interacts with the body's natural systems, how it influences metabolism, how it supports healthy circulation, how it affects the microbiome, how it contributes to resilience, and how small daily choices can accumulate into meaningful long-term outcomes. The exciting reality is that researchers continue making new discoveries every year. The relationship between nutrition and human health remains one of the most active areas of scientific investigation. New studies are constantly refining our understanding, sometimes confirming old ideas, sometimes challenging them, and sometimes revealing entirely new possibilities. That's why maintaining curiosity matters. Nutrition science evolves, evidence grows, knowledge expands, and the people who benefit most are often those willing to learn, adapt, and focus on principles rather than trends. So let's bring everything together. Feed your microbiome with fiber-rich foods. Include a variety of plant-based compounds in your diet. Allow reasonable breaks between eating occasions. Support vascular health through nutrient-dense foods. Use tea as part of a healthy lifestyle. And think in terms of food combinations rather than isolated ingredients. None of these strategies are dramatic. None promise instant transformation. None guarantees specific outcomes. But collectively, they reflect principles supported by a growing body of scientific research. And perhaps that's exactly why they matter, because lasting health is rarely built through dramatic interventions. More often, it's built through consistent behaviors repeated over time. A healthier breakfast, a better lunch, an evening meal rich in whole foods, a daily walk, a good night's sleep. Small choices, repeated consistently, year after year. The decisions we make today may seem insignificant in the moment. A cup of tea, a serving of vegetables, an earlier dinner, a more balanced meal. But over years and decades, those choices can influence how we age, how we feel, and how resilient our bodies remain. Science continues to reveal just how connected food is to the systems that help keep us healthy. And while researchers are still uncovering new details, one message remains remarkably consistent. The foods we choose every day do more than satisfy hunger. They provide information to the body. They influence biological pathways. They help shape the environment in which our health unfolds. And that means every meal is more than a source of calories. It's an opportunity to support your future self, one choice at a time.